I came out 4 days ago, and I'd say all but one family member has not reached out. So it's kind of a bit awkward, and not much has changed. Everyone's going about as usual, not talking about me coming out. Kind of went down the way I thought it was going to go. Because in my family, most of the time, having a constructive conversation that actually fixes issues and we talk about problems isn't something that's going to happen. And I think they're just thinking that if they avoid it, it'll go away. And yeah, that's kind of that scenario. It started to snow a few hours ago, so sleeting, snowing, a little of both, and not much going on except I changed jobs and became a manager, so that's great. Nothing really going on beyond people, ghosting me and all that. So, yeah. Well, for those people who came out thinking, everything's going to go so well. I mean, if you have that scenario and everything does go well, count your blessings. For us who we know it's not going to be good. And, most of us are going to be in safe environments. Our parents probably aren't going to send us death threats, kill us, or anything like that extreme. We're not famous people, and we don't live in countries that view us as property, so for the most part, it's going to be pretty low-key ghosting, verbal and emotional abuse. There are people out there that do face physical abuse, and, I feel bad for them, because nobody should feel like they have to fake who they are and live in a place that isn't safe. But that's not the world we live in for the most part. So we all have to, protect each other and protect ourselves. And for some people, it's going to take years for their parents to come around. Some will never. Some are going to lose their entire family and either be alone or create their own, either through getting married or having friends. And luckily, I have a sibling who's a very liberal Christian who's married and has 5 kids. He's 15 years older than me, and he's an ally for a lot of things I am an ally for. So I have that, even though I didn't grow up living with them because, he was 15 years older than me. So by the time I was 6, he had left for college out of state. So I never grew up with them, but they occasionally came back to visit every few years. My roommate, who's also my sister, she's an extremist, white nationalist kind of Christian, so you can imagine what that went through. She created a wall that I can definitely feel when we're talking. There's a lot of stuff we can't talk about: politics, religion, philosophy. So there's that. And it's just, every day is an adventure. That's what I always tell people when I go to interview for jobs. Every day is an adventure. I've been doing this work for 15 years, and every day is different, unique, and I always say that you have to take what life gives you and hopefully get out of its way before it runs over you. And I mean, I have a good life. I have people who, support me. I may not know who they are through YouTube, but since I came out 4 days ago, I've gotten at least 25 or more positive messages. I've received 2 negative ones, but I mean, 25 to 2 is not bad. It's much better than being ghosted or screamed at, so there's that. I found out from my sister yesterday that my father mentioned to her that my mother had been crying for days due to me coming out. And I always say, parents create their own drama. Family, especially religious people, create their own addicts, their own solutions to problems they've created, and they create their own drama. And this isn't a one-off. My mom usually behaves like this whenever there's a very different change in the family. I mean, she acted this way with both of my sister-in-laws joining the family. Anytime I would move out of state, or anyone I knew that was related to this family that moved or did drastic life changes, she reacted this way. And my therapist told me there are people in your life that you have to set boundaries. Boundaries are for you, not for other people. And what I mean is, boundaries tell you how to react to disrespect. It's not about controlling other people's behavior. And boundaries are all about setting an expectation, consistency, and removing yourself from toxic environments. And that's why I always say, love before family. And I mean, I have friends, I have people I care about. I may not be married, I may not have a boyfriend, I may not have any pets, but I do have interests that I've had for almost 20 years. And it just helps me get through the day. And now that I'm in therapy for almost 3 years, it's more than just survival. I'm trying to enjoy living life. And if all of my family blame me for their own negative, emotional, and just immature reactions to normal changes in life, it's not about me. It's when my mother and people in my family gaslight me, ghost me, and just react like toddlers, their behavior has nothing to do with me. It's a reflection of who they are. And I always say, if people ghost you for telling the truth, living with integrity, then what they say means nothing. Because actions always speak louder than words. If someone says they love you and then they ghost you, scream at you, and try to control you, that's not a healthy love at all. And it's better to be orphans. It really is better to be an orphan without parents than to be near parents that are toxic. And by what I mean orphan is somebody who chooses to step away from their family. I call it being an orphan adjacent. They choose to set boundaries. Sometimes they choose to completely remove themselves from their family because there's just nothing good coming back. And some of us who do come out for a lot of different reasons and different issues, we're going to become orphans adjacent. We're going to lose our families. We're going to lose our friends. Sometimes our employment, our entire social environment. And sometimes that's the best thing that can happen. Because do you really want 200 people in a church around you if they're not going to make your life better? If they're not going to be consistent and care about you? And that's what it's all about. I'd rather live by myself and have very few friends and have integrity and enjoy living my life than surrounding myself with 200 people who aren't really friends, who use me, take from me, give very little back unless it's criticism or narcissistic behavior. I just rather be by myself. And I say all the time that some of our worst enemies are ourselves. I mean, internalized homophobia is pretty hard is very hard to get past. And you have to understand that not everyone in your life is good for you. And just because you share the same blood doesn't mean you share the same heart. You don't share the same goals, the same dreams, and you may not have the same philosophy in life. And if some of your family members, or even just one family member, is toxic and believes in racism, homophobia, transphobia, xenophobia, and sexism, it's just better not to have that person in your life. Yeah, it's sad. I mean, you go from having a great relationship or some kind of dysfunctional relationship to nothing. But honestly, it's better to lose something bad than have nothing but bad around you. And when people share who they really are and someone doesn't like it, there's nothing you can really do about that. There's really nothing you can do. And in my opinion, I'd rather know who my fake friends are and live by myself, or find a way to get friends that are genuine. But yeah, I'd definitely rather be alone than have fake friends and people who only love and support you conditionally. Because life's too short to waste time on people that just make you miserable. And I've grown up and realized that there's a lot of people in my family it's just miserable. And it's sad to say it. It's even sad to think it. But sometimes you have to decide what's right for you. You have to decide what makes your life better. And if the answer is none of the people in my family, it's better to know it now than be prevented from living your life. My family is so controlling. It's so sad. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot to deal with that. But I'd rather know at 31 and have no friends for maybe 6 months to a year until I can find some good ones than be stuck with a family who doesn't accept me and who makes me doubt who I am every time they're around. It's just not worth the whole part. It's not worth the fake interactions. It's just not worth it. And some people, I mean, if your family is worth it, even if they treat you terribly, that's your choice. I just don't want people around me that don't make my day better. It only takes one person to run your day, unless you're the kind of person who doesn't let people run their day. I haven't quite got there yet. And most people, and I'd say everyone in my family, except for my eldest brother, his wife, and kids, they're experts in running your day, running your happiness, or just abstaining from celebrating with you. I mean, if I had announced I was engaged, married, or pregnant, they would have celebrated. But because I announced something they can't stand, I mean, even strangers were kinder to me than my family was after I came out. And my therapist told me before I came out a few weeks ago, you're going to have to realize that there's a very good chance, based off what you've told me about your family, that your family may choose their religion, their beliefs, their comfort over you. And a lot of people go through it every day. Luckily, I'm not 16 where I'm financially dependent on them or in college needing their support. I'm on my own with my own job, my own apartment. I can do what I want when I want. But it doesn't mean it hurts less from ghosting coming from people. And it's not that they don't know what to say, because they do. Everyone knows that if someone's in pain or announces something about them, you're supposed to emotionally and physically support them. If somebody's crying, everyone knows you're supposed to comfort them, put your arm around them and say, can I call somebody? Do you need someone to talk to? Everyone knows what to do. Everyone knows at a wedding you're supposed to be happy, and at a funeral you're supposed to be sad. Nobody has to be told what to say at a wedding. You know. My parents know what to say. They either don't care enough to support me, or they really don't like me for who I am. And that's something that everyone who comes out risks when they come out. And most of us aren't in parts of the world where it's illegal to leave your faith, like apostasy, where they kill you. And most of us aren't in countries that put you in prison for being gay or atheist, but that still exists. So whatever ghosting and just general unpleasantness I'm going through now is nothing compared to a lot of people's problems. And I'm not saying that to diminish how hurtful it is to be ghosted, abandoned, and to find out that your family and parents, their love, support, and kindness is conditional. But that's part of growing up, realizing that sometimes your parents aren't the only person living in a fantasy. You'll figure it out at some point, that sometimes kids have the fantasy that their parents' love is unconditional, that their parents will support them, and that may or may not be the case. So, I mean, every day I'm going to make a video on the progression. It's Wednesday, so Thursday or Friday I might reach out to my sister-in-law and just, compare some notes, because she mentioned that it was kind of like this when my eldest brother went into liberal Christianity, which is very different from being a Calvinist, Baptist fundamentalist, I'll tell you that. And I've noticed a pattern with my family, how they treat people who are different, whether it's belief or activity, and how they treated my siblings for choosing to be less religious, a different kind of religious. I'm just the first person who's decided to have nothing to do with religion. And I'd like to compare some notes with my oldest brother to see if the viewpoint I have is as accurate as possible. But it is a pattern. It's not a one-off. My parents have been doing this for years. If they can't make you change your mind, they're either going to support you because it's resignation, or they're going to ghost you. And this is not behavior acceptable for people who are 70 years of age. I don't care how old or young you are. You can always learn to be more accepting to other people. And if you can't accept your kids for who they are, with the mindset at birth, they may reject their name, their gender, their occupation, your religion. You have no business having kids. Because your kids aren't an extension of yourself. They're not your property. They're a completely different human being. And I think parents create a fantasy that if you do anything that rocks that fantasy, goodness grief, what kind of problems kids are going to have. And there's nothing wrong with being heteronormative any more than there's something not wrong with being trans. The majority of people on this planet, 3 out of 4 people or 8 out of 10 people are straight. The problem is making it a default setting, religion a default setting. Just because somebody says they're a Christian at 8 years of age, nobody's a Christian at 8 years of age. You're a child. Nobody's a Catholic at 7 years of age. They're a child. Until you're financially, emotionally, and physically independent of your family, you're not anything. Because you can't make your own decisions. Your brain hasn't developed enough to be a fully functioning adult male or female. or whatever you want to identify as. And that's just part of being in these kind of environments. People think that they own you and that you owe them something. Just because my parents gave me life doesn't mean I owe them anything. Because they chose to give me life. They chose to obey the law and provide a safe home with food, clothes, and access to good health care and education. That's required by law. That's the bare minimum to provide a child. And if parents can't make their child safe, where they're emotionally and physically